This is the difference between soft bigotry and like hard bigotry. Hard bigotry will just write people out of, just out of the society. What soft bigotry is going to do is write in its conception, write systems that will bear down on certain groups more than others, and that's how you target groups while having the plausible deniability, being like, look, we didn't say that gay teachers can't talk about being gay, we're just saying, this is the let me see how many, what do we got, 924,000 fucking subscribers. Holy shit, this is a bigger channel than I thought. Wait a minute. How many videos does this person have? 700 videos with 924,000 subscribers. God damn, man. God damn. Man, it'd be so easy to be fucking conservative. Oh, wait, what is this? Is this like a debate? Ooh, maybe we should watch this. Ooh. What is this? Okay, so it seems like she's the college age person who they trot out to do the anti-college stuff, and also she looks black, so obviously kind of filling that role as well, it seems. Either way, I'm like curious now. Should we watch like this debate or the video I had lined up? Because now I'm kind of disinterested in this. Ooh, okay. We got Triggered High Schooler. God, all these channels are the fucking, it's always this, it's all, man, I feel sorry for this person. This like person has to live their life constantly seeing that picture of them. Like, that's got to be a pain in the ass. Okay, here we go. Fine, let's do,
I don't understand that.
okay, I want to hear it.
Like teachers
in the bill.
Well, it wasn't written in the bill, but that's why I'm saying that I feel like it's bills like those are being targeted towards gay people.
Washington University and St. Louis. Okay, yeah.
I would argue
so
that the bills also...
I get the kind of sense that this person's one of those like Charlie Kirk. I show up to college campuses and I try to I try to convince people of conservatism. That seems to be, now granted, this has not been a strategy that's worked very well for the right wing, but they keep making efforts. So might as well give them might as well see what they're bringing to the table. So let's just go.
So say that you should not show children heterosexual acts.
It's a kind of a banger intro, I'll give them that.
Hello. So this kind of goes back to the first question.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of confused and like would be interested in your answer about what the difference is between conservatism and like the current Republican Party. Because like something that really drives me away from the Republican Party is like blatant lies and bigotry that I hear coming out of that, and kind of the lack of calling that out from other people as well. So I guess, and like listening to what you're talking about today, it seems like you're very focused on the facts, and that's something that's driving a lot of
facts and knowledge,
like thinking and saying.
Fucking facts and feelings, am I right?
The Republican Party. So
Okay.
I'm confused on how you're.
I'm curious. I would like. Can I get examples of what you mean when you say like they're focused on bigotry or like saying certain things?
So like blatant lies, I guess, would kind of be with the election and like election deniers, and then kind of the lack of people who are calling that out. So I guess, I mean, a good example would be.
So this is okay. So off the bat, the thing that already sticks out to me is this college student has obviously no like media training, and they're probably just like an average person who rolled up and was like, oh, there's like this person speaking, I'll like stop in and see if I can ask them a question or whatever, or she did a speech, whatever it might be. But like the thing you can always notice is like like is she talking to somebody who has like an ideological grounding opposed to her? It doesn't really seem like it. It always seems like these people who go to these college campuses just talk to like some random fuck who like doesn't really know all that much and isn't all that educated on like topics, on issues. Meanwhile, they're walking in with like talking points, with counters to their talking points already prepared, already ready. They already have everything kind of queued up. So obviously, no, like, I can only expect that, like, it's going to be a lot of, I can only expect this is going to be rather easy for her to skirt by on some of her policy points. But
I mean, you were talking about, following the facts and the science with regards to like transgender youth.
Mhm.
So I'm just kind of confused on how then you're saying we should follow the facts with respects to that, but then all the kind of Republicans who are ignoring that. And then I guess with the bigotry would be in regards to like the Don't Say Gay law in Florida, and then the lack of like Republicans who are then calling that out.
Yeah, so I'll touch on the don't say gay thing first, then we'll get to the election thing, then we'll get to the Republican thing. The don't say gay bill, I think, is falsely labeled the don't say gay bill. I've actually gone to the page, read the bill itself. It's actually called the Parental Rights and Education Bill. And if you go through,
yes, the classic, that's not what it's called. When, yeah, we know that's not what it's called because you're not going to come out and say it. But okay.
read the bill itself, a lot of people engaged in all this fanfare and getting angry about a label, which is 3 words that they heard, rather than going and actually reading the bill. And the bill itself talks about just staying away from sexual education that has to do with other sexualities, has to do with gender theory. A lot of people got mad at the bill saying that he was trying to erase African American history. But if you go in and read it, there's actually a full paragraph where he says the school must dedicate time to talking about African American history, including slavery and Jim Crow and all these different things written directly in it. There's nothing in the bill that explicitly says you should not say the word gay or encourages teachers.
Yes. So this is okay. So this is what I mean by like the dishonest nature of how like kind of bills are written, because what you have to understand is whenever you write a bill, whenever you write any piece of legislation, not only are you writing into law an edict of what is allowed in your society, you are also writing by definition what is not allowed. If you allow for, let's say, if you write a bill that allows for the theft of horses, right? If that, if it's like, with this bill, you are allowed to steal, steal horses from your neighbor, right? As like because of the way that might be written, the way that the actual law will be implemented will be, okay, well, the law does say that I can steal horses, but it does not say I can't steal goats. It only is referenced to horses or to whatever topic it is. And the issue with the Don't Say Gay bill is its vagueness and its unspecificity. I don't know if that's a word. But like the issue with the Don't Say Gay bill is that like when you say like, oh, it bans people from talking about sexuality and gender, right? To which one has to ask, well, A, what does that mean? And B, in what context? Because if you're a teacher, right, and you're and specifically the bill, if I remember correctly, mentions like not educational time. It's like it mentions. She popped it up for a hot second. Can I see that really quickly? I don't. Come on. There we go. Parental rights and education requires district school boards to adopt procedures that comport with certain provisions of the law, notifying students as parents of specific information. Again, not given. Requires such procedures to reinforce fundamental rights of parents to make decisions regarding upbringing and control of their children. Again, this is rather unspecific. We don't know what it pertains to, because it's, it's specified. Yeah. Parents of specified, let's escape. Prohibits school district from adopting procedures or student support forms that prohibit school district's personnel from notifying parent about specified information, or that encourage student to withhold from parents such information. Prohibits school districts. Yeah, this is like, so this part of the bill is like, hey, if a kid says something that you think, or something specifically that we deem a parent should know, that being, if your student comes to you, says that they think they're gay, you have to tell their parents, even though that's not information that like maybe the child wanted to be shared at that point. Maybe they weren't ready. Maybe their parents aren't accepting of that. Like, you know, this is compelling teachers to basically rat out their non-straight students. Like, you know, that's what this is kind of getting at. Prohibits school okay, here we go. Prohibits school district personnel from discouraging or prohibiting parental notification and involvement of critical decisions affecting students' mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Notice how none of this is specific, by the way. All of this is incredibly broad and could literally be anything. Like, none of this is specific. And the unspecificity, again, don't know if that's a word, I think it might be, but the unspecific nature of this is the goal. You want to write restrictive laws, but not draw like concrete borders around the consequences of those, because you have to think to yourself, who is this bill for, right? It's for people who, you know, it's for parental rights. Well, what do those generally mean? Who are we talking about when we talk about parental rights? Well, generally, the people we're thinking of and the people that we're referencing are people who come back and say, hey, this teacher did not tell me that my kid said that they think that they're gay or whatever, right? It's going to be, and let's be honest here, right-wing parents. This is for conservative parents to have a tool to compel teachers to give them information that their kids might not want to be shared with them yet, and to punish those teachers, for giving any of those possibly gay students a refuge, someone to talk to, somebody who wouldn't rat them out to their possibly violent family members. Like, that's who this is going to affect. Is this going to affect parents whose kids are straight and tell their teachers that they have a crush on this or that person? No. Because even if a teacher reports that, you know what the parents are going to do? They're going to go like, I don't care. I already know this. Or, great, thanks for letting me know. But do you notice how, like, this will only negatively affect the LGBT kids in that classroom? Like, anyway, let's see. Prohibit school, prohibiting, prohibits classroom, oh, here it is. Prohibits classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in certain grade levels. So, obviously, certain grade levels, not specific. So that could mean first grade, that could mean fourth grade, that could mean 8th grade, that could mean 12th grade. We don't know because they didn't write it into the bill. They said certain because they want the people who decide this, the parents who are going to be using this bill, to have leeway to decide what certain means. Certain grades, well, I don't know, 8th grade is a certain grade, so that grade is the grade that I think. It's so that you don't have to draw a distinct line as to when you've crossed into sussy territory, basically. And also prohibits classroom discussion. Well, what the fuck is classroom discussion? What the fuck is classroom? What is the learning part of the class? Like the question always becomes, what's discussion? Because there is no legal definition of classroom discussion. It doesn't exist. There isn't classroom discussion is everything from going over a lesson of how to spell juxtaposition, how to fucking add 8 plus 4, and then, one of your students asked you how your weekend was, and you said you went out with your husband and you're a guy, and then they go, you have a husband, and you go, yeah, I'm gay. Is that classroom discussion? Well, right-wing parents certainly are going to think it is, because there's no concrete, and they're going to say, you're teaching my kid that being gay is okay, or you're teaching him about being gay simply by divulging that you are gay. Like, it's so vaguely written that it can be interpreted in any possible way. And again, that's kind of the reason why it's written that way. It's written to be vague so that it can apply to as many people as possible. Because if you think, and let's be clear about this, if you think that there are parents who are going to be upset with kids coming home and telling their parents, oh yeah, my straight woman teacher had a nice weekend with her husband, they went to the fair or whatever, do you think that's who this bill is going to come after? Do you think there are parents who are going to have a problem with that? No, because there's not a political and ideological opposition to heterosexual couples. There simply isn't. But there is to gay couples. So when gay couples, or even just a gay person, is a teacher and expresses their identity, and even when I say express, again, that word is doing a lot of work. Even if they identify as non-straight, that could be identified as classroom discussion if that conversation happened in a classroom. Requires school districts to notify parents of healthcare services authorizes parents to bring action against school districts to obtain declaratory judgment, provides for additional award of injunctive relief, damages, and reasonable attorney fees and court costs to certain parents. And this is like the other part of it. No school is going to allow their teachers to talk about, if you're like a gay teacher, again, your school might tell you, hey, you can't talk about this stuff. You can't put a pride flag up. You can't put a picture of your husband up, because if the kids see it and they start talking about it in school, they're going to go home. They're going to tell their parents that they were talking about their gay teacher at school. And then we're going to get fined. We're going to have to pay legal fees. We're going to have to pay money. So we need you to keep it quiet. It's a way to silence gay people. That's all this is. Like, like when you think about it for 2 seconds, it's rather obvious. But, you know, of course, but, you know, the student that she's talking to probably hasn't read this, probably isn't aware of any of this, probably just like heard like, hey, I heard this bill, it does this thing. What the fuck? And she goes, actually, Sweaty, that's not what it says. It just says that parents can't talk about sexual topics with kids, which is not what it says. It says prohibits classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in certain grade levels, to which I don't know what any of that is. None of it is specific. None of it is actually concrete. It's all vague. It's all just don't mention, don't mention the gays, which funnily enough kind of translate to don't say gay. Don't say the gays exist. But anyway.
Bill. And if you go through and read the bill itself, a lot of people engaged in all this fanfare and getting angry about a label, which is 3 words that they heard, rather than going and actually reading the bill. And the bill itself talks about just staying away from sexual education that has to do with other sexualities, has to do with gender theory.
Yeah. So see, it's like staying away from topics, but it's like, wait, but like it doesn't say that. It says classroom discussion. It's not specific. It doesn't say lesson plan. It doesn't say educational time. It just says classroom discussion, which if we're talking about like definitionally, the 2 words are classroom, which is a noun, it's a place, and discussion, which can mean any form of back and forth conversation. Discussion is everything you do in a classroom.
Theory. A lot of people got mad at the bill saying that he was trying to erase African American history. But if you go in and read it, there's actually a full paragraph where he says the school must dedicate time to talking about African American history, including slavery and Jim Crow and all these different things written directly in it. There's nothing in the bill that explicitly says.
Let's see. I'm actually kind of curious because I don't remember that. Let's see. American Studies? Let's see. Oh, wait. Yeah, wait. Are we talking about the, Florida rejects, let's see, backlash after Florida rejects African American Studies course. Where is it? Here we go. Is this the one he's talking? These aren't the same bills, first of all. I want to like see if I can find it. Rejected after his administration rejected the advanced placement African American studies course. Da, 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 da. Okay, I don't know what she's talking about. We're just moving on. I don't know what specific bill she's talking about.
Should not say the word gay, or encourages teachers to not talk about the fact that you can have a family that has 2 dads or 2 moms. So I think that was a lot.
We just looked at the bill. It's vague enough that it could be interpreted.
Florida's controversial Don't
However,
Say Gay law takes effect today. Don't say gay bill.
The don't say gay. Don't say gay.
The don't say gay bill.
Don't say gay law.
Don't say gay bill. Don't say gay bill. Don't say gay bill.
And switching things around that got people angry.
Okay, can I just, are you going to switch topics? Could I follow on that?
You can respond, yeah.
Okay, so then my question, I guess, following up on that would be, would you be against?
Yeah, like again, like this dude isn't really prepared for this. She already knows what to say to like, what do you say about the don't say gay bill? Well, it doesn't actually say don't. It doesn't even say gay in the entire thing. So I don't know what you're talking about. Even though it's like you didn't need to write gay. There's a lot of different ways that you can just write things out of law, or into law, I should say, like without specifically naming that term. This is also, again, this gives parents the ability to seize on this. This gives parents the ability to enforce this law, because you don't go to the police and you enforce it. As a parent, you complain to the school and then file a lawsuit. So like the enforcers of this are parents, who then have to be reimbursed by the schools. Like, so yeah, like all of the pressure is going to be put on the teachers to not discuss sexual orientation or gender in the classroom ever. So if it comes up, if it just comes up, you're not really talking about that specific issue, you might be, you might trip that law, and now your employer is like, shit, we need to, you can't talk about that. You can't talk about your marriage right now. It's too dangerous. It's too, we're too much in danger of liability on that.
Than like a kindergartner being like read a story that has like 2 dads or 2 moms.
I mean, that doesn't necessarily make me upset. I wouldn't go running to the school board about it. I would question.
Somebody would, though. Maybe you wouldn't. But what if somebody else does?
Conversation that talks about relationships in school. But if you're just showing a picture book and it has 2 dads in it, okay, whatever. I'm not upset about it. I think what
it's funny. She says she's not upset, but
are really upset about is things much more nefarious than showing 2 dads in a book. I mean,
wait, no, whoa. How many times have we heard conservatives say that, like, it's like if you show your kid a picture book with 2 gay dads, that it's indoctrination, that they're indoctrinating your child? Now, obviously she's lying. She's being dishonest here, because like I can point to you any number of examples of Republicans getting up in their fucking gravy about it. But like, yeah, like they're rather triggered by just the existence, just the reference of gay people in any children's media. It becomes like, oh, you're trying to indoctrinate my kid.
I mean, talking about homoeroticism and pornography and different ways to engage in sexual acts, gender confusion, that's what's really brought parents to the forefront of this discussion. It's not something as simple and as harmless as showing 2 dads in a book.
Okay, but like, do you understand that like that is in Florida? Like that is what's not allowed to happen, though?
No, I don't understand that.
Like
that's
teachers
what's in the bill.
Well, it wasn't written in the bill, but that's why I'm saying that I feel like it's bills like those are being targeted.
Yeah, you don't write that directly into the bill.
Well.
You just write the systems. This is the difference between writing. This is the difference between soft bigotry and like hard bigotry. Hard bigotry will just write people out of, just out of the society. What soft bigotry is going to do is write in its conception, write systems that will bear down on certain groups more than others, and that's how you target groups while having the plausible deniability being like, look, we didn't say that gay teachers can't talk about being gay. We're just saying that if a student happens to tell their teacher that they talked about you know, or if a student tells their parents that they talk to their teacher about being gay and it happened in the classroom, that then that parent can go and sue the school, and then the school has to pay for their legal fees and a bunch of other stuff. So the school, you know, from that point on they could not tell that teacher, hey, like, you know, it's going to cost us a lot of money if you get us in trouble. So we need everybody to kind of, you know, watch their talk and try not to mention as much as they can, you know, their relationships if they are gay. Like, that's how this works. Again, you would have to be stupid to not understand the system that they built in Florida. And again, the mechanism of enforcement is not one through the police or through any legal organization. It's through citizens. The citizenry are the enforcement, meaning you have to deal with parents being the ones to decide, is this really worth a lawsuit, or is this just me being up in my shit? Which parents aren't really that great at ascertaining
say that you
that.
should not show children heterosexual acts. So it's not targeting of any kind to any sort of children heterosexual.
Sorry.
And in the bill, but that's why I'm saying that I feel like it's bills like those are being targeted towards gay people and lesbians. Well,
I would argue that the bills also say that you should not show children heterosexual acts. So
Well, you know, she is in this respect, she is being honest. The bill does technically the way the bill is written, you could complain about your child hearing about a straight like learning about their teacher's straight marriage. That also is a thing that happened. Now the real question becomes, do you think that's going to happen? Is there a movement right now in America that is targeting heterosexual teachers for being groomers, for transing their kids, for, you know, any of the other stuff that they say about LGBTQ teachers? Is there? No. It's simply not something that's going to happen. You see, you write a law into effect that would say, like, look, you can't talk about, nobody is allowed to talk about straight couples or gay couples. Meanwhile, there is only one side that is oppositional from an ideological standpoint to gay couples, but not straight couples. And you write that law on an even ground because you know that implementation wise, it is only going to fall on one group, which would be the gay group.
So it's not targeting of any kind to any sort of sexuality. I wouldn't want to send my kindergarten to school and have them talk about a man and a woman having sex. I think the bill explicitly lays out.
Would you want them to talk about their marriage?
Are appropriate for school and what conversations
What is happening?
are not. In sexual conversations.
Classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate. What is age appropriate? Or developmentally appropriate for students in I'm assuming it's going to say Florida. So again, classroom instruction. What's the difference between classroom instruction and classroom discussion? If you can tell me, if you can describe one of those without describing the other and show me that that's a legal definition, then maybe we can have a conversation. But it's not. Also, on sexual orientation and gender identity may not occur. So yeah, it's, you know, this is basically like, hey, if you're, you know, even if your first grader comes to you and is like, I like boys, then what? You have to tell their parents? You don't know if their parents are, how they're going to react to that. Same with their gender identity. If there's like a kid who thinks that they might be trans and, you know, that's kind of an early onset thing, what? You're just supposed to rat the kid out to the parents who you don't know? I'm sure if you have an understanding that the parents are understanding, or, you know, that they're going to be sympathetic to that, then, like, you know, if you're a teacher, you're like, yeah, I'd share that with this parent. You know, ask any teacher. There are things about each of their students that they would tell some of their parents and they wouldn't tell others, because they know after interacting with their kids and interacting with their parents, they get some kind of idea of the dynamic, and they understand the things that will get those kids in, you know, trouble. But like, you'll also quickly understand what will put those kids in danger. Not just trouble, not just get them in trouble with their parents, but put them in danger of being harmed by their parents.
conversations about sexuality, identification are just not what we send children to school for.
But would you be
it
against then
is.
like a fifth grader just
But
reading
it
a book
is.
where there's a relationship?
We send
between,
kids to
like, a
school
man
to
and
be
a man or a woman and
socialized.
a woman, where like their sexuality is discussed?
I mean, not
sense.
necessarily, but I don't know why that book has to be given to that child from the school. I think there are very few things that a school
Why is
should
any
be
book given to
taking
any
care of,
kid?
and that is math, reading, writing, science, and maybe some home economics. But as far as engaging in conversations about any sort of relationship or sexuality,
Home
I think it's
economics, isn't
totally
that
unnecessary to me.
whoa. Home economics, isn't that a gendered like field of study? If I remember correctly, home ec was for the girls when I was going to high school. Home ec was for the girls, wood shop was for the boys. That's how it went. I took home ec because I'm a girl deep down. No, I raised by a single mother. That's why. What happens when you're raised by women mostly is you tend to gravitate towards home economics. But then, even then, like now that I think about it, a lot of people took home ec. Our woodshop class wasn't really all that. From what I remember seeing, it wasn't really that popular in my school. But yeah.
And I don't know where the school train ran away from us that they now feel that they are the arbiters of teaching children anything that has to do with relationships. I think those are conversations.
Yeah, that's fucking wild. Like, tell me if you've never maybe these people didn't do it, but I had teachers that I was close with that I like had really good rapport with, and I would go to them with like questions about life, with advice, with anything else, because like sometimes your parents don't really know like what it is to be a kid, but your teachers certainly do. They're with you all throughout the year. They're constantly exposed to teenagers. So like to a degree, they're usually like, yeah, I kind of, I see you guys a lot. I see how you guys interact. They have a much stronger understanding, I think, of the social aspects of being a kid than like your parents are gonna have. Your parents are working most of the time. They don't know what like your society that's in your school is kind of looks like. Like that's not really something that I think they're nearly as aware of as like teachers are. Teachers are always like a part of that student society. So like, but like again, this is like when did teachers start talking to kids about something other than math, English, and science? It's like since the dawn of fucking time. That's when like people talk to other people about other topics than the one that they're like supposed to be talking to them for. Like if you've never had a conversation with a teacher that wasn't on the topic that they're like, if you never talked to your history teacher about literally anything else, then I guess maybe you'd have this perspective. But like in that case, I'm like, were you socialized properly? Because like I talked to my like teachers about all sorts like movies, like comics, all sorts of topics, because I wanted to socialize with them on a level that was different from like student and academics. Like academics is only a part of what we send kids to school for. We send them to be socialized and to learn the hard
For mom and dad,
studies.
or dad and dad, or mom and mom.
What about the relationships between like men and women? In the sense that like there are plenty of books where a man and a woman are together.
Sure, yeah. If you want like we go on a date and go get lunch together or something like that, sure. But again, that's not what parents are coming to the school for.
But I would disagree, and I would say I think there are plenty of people who are upset. That is being taught, and that is what's happening. You
could say that, and you'd probably find a few Christian people who go.
Well, I think it's more than a few. If we're gonna be
also, it doesn't take a few. It literally only takes one. It only takes one person to put the economic risk on any school for that school to shut that teacher down and be like, hey, like you need to not mention that you're gay, because it only takes one parent to catch us a fine. Like at the end of the day, the risk is monetary. You're putting on the line the finances of a public school that's already probably a bit underfunded on the backs of like, again, that can be risked on one individual person in any school district. It only takes one person to do this to some teacher to get the rest of the districts in that state to basically, quite frankly, shove their teachers back into the closet.
Realistic in Florida.
If they want to continue to educate their kids,
plenty of
like
people who say I'm against that in school, but I think it is about being forthright with what we have with our kids. Like when I went to school and we were going to get any sort of sexual education, I was sent home with a piece of paper a week before, a day before, that said, hey, we're going to have a conversation about sexual activity and relationships with your child. Here's what we're going to discuss. If you'd like to opt out,
Yeah, that's
check
called
this
sex
box
ed.
here,
By
or
the
send
way,
your kid to
conservatives,
another room
not
and we can
pro
have a
sex
pizza
ed.
party. I don't know why that it's such a difficult thing to do in the modern age and why teachers feel the need to inject these conversations into classrooms without parents knowing.
Also, again, if you're not actually teaching your K through like 6 kids sex ed, again, the way the law is written, it's broad enough, and classroom discussion and classroom instruction don't have hard definitions, meaning if it comes up at all, any legal reading could argue that any discussion at all, if you didn't forewarn the parents, is you breaking that law. Like, again, there's a reason why it's written as broad as it is.
I think a great way to mitigate this problem as a whole is to engage in curriculum transparency, where at the beginning of every year, when you send your child to school, you get a little book that says, here's what we're teaching. Here are the resources your kid is going to look at.
Is that not like
you can look at these resources.
They do know
yourself.
that they get
If you have a
syllabuses
problem
at
with
the beginning
any
of
the
school years,
resources
yeah?
you're going to give your child, notify us. And it's a very simple issue. To just put the power back in the hands of parents where it should have been from the beginning. And it feels weird to meet such resistance.
Also, the idea that you would do this for every single parent, because keep in mind, what they want is for like the parents, each individual parent, to sign off on a lesson plan. But then, like, what do you do with like one if like some parents like, no, I do not want my kid reading Great Gatsby, but they're like there's like 2 of them in a classroom of 30 kids. What do you do with those 2 kids? How do you what? You give those 2 a different book, and then what? Those 2 have to do a different book, which means you have to plan. You can't plan your lessons around the Great Gatsby and the reading thereof. Those kids need to now go to a different class or something. Like, to accommodate this would like would necessitate so many extra resources on any school. Like, no, this is unrealistic.
Resistance on allowing parents to be able to make that choice.
Also,
for their kids, not
parents
necessarily
aren't
resistance
educators.
From you,
most of the
from,
time, they're
left-leaning
dumb
people at
fucks.
large.
Okay, thank you. And then I mean, don't necessarily agree with that, but I guess just to go to the second.
Yeah. What was the second thing again? Republicans?
Republicans, conservatisms, and then also about, I mean, just following the facts with regards to like science regarding like puberty blockers, and then ignoring the science and the
Jesus.
facts with regard to the election.
Yeah. So what is interesting is that when I say follow the science when it comes to puberty blockers and transgenderism, the question becomes what science? Because in the United States of America, science seems to be controlled by this totalitarian force of left-leaning people who are willing to silence anybody.
The silence doesn't agree with me, therefore it doesn't count.
There's a neuroscientist by the name of Deborah So who wrote a book called
We found
yes.
We found one person who disagrees with the field of basically all psychology. We are hedging our bets on one doctor versus an entire field of study. Yes.
To substantiate what we know to be true, but for some reason can't get unbiased research. I think that's why a lot of Republicans feel the way they
Well, let's be clear. You want biased research. What you want is research that affirms your beliefs. That just doesn't exist. I talked to somebody about all of this. It just doesn't exist. We have no evidence to show any of the the negative effects of puberty blockers, the negative effects of trans affirming care. We don't have any information on it. There is nothing that points us in the direction that this would be that we just don't have any evidence for. There's nothing there. There aren't like studies that are like out there that are like, oh, look at the effects of puberty blockers. Yeah, there are side effects. That's kind of a thing that's all that they've always had. If you want to, honest to God, if you want a really good discussion on this, Vosh had a talk with a former Daily Wire reporter, and I want to say like maybe the second half of their discussion was about kind of the trans healthcare stuff in a really interesting conversation. I think, I disagreed with her overall on her points, but like she came to the conversation with like a real concern, with a real argument, and with a real like care, and not just like, oh well, the science is like biased. And it's like, all right, well, you can complain about that all you want, but unless you have something concrete to show me, then you can fucking jog off. Because again, all of these people all say the same thing. It's always, oh, the scientists are biased, oh, this is biased, oh, we're right, but da da da. And it's like, how about you prove that and then come talk to me? But they never want to prove it. They never want to actually prove any of their stances. They just want to blindly kind of wave at like, look how many doctors are not conservative. And I'm like, well, so what? Guess what? There are conservative doctors. I'm sure they make good science, but I guess on this topic, you all are a bunch of dumb fucks. Like, I can't help you on this one. Like, come up with the evidence, then come talk to me. But don't do this like, oh, because then they'll come up with evidence and they're like, see, to which I have to say, like, then I get to be like, oh, well, I think that's biased, so fuck off with your evidence. Because like that, like if we want to play this game, that's all we'll do. We'll all just retreat to our like, nope, I have my bias evidence, you have your bias evidence, everything, all the rest of that. But I'm like, fucking spare me with some of this. Like,
they do about elections. Now, whether they're right or wrong, I don't know. I haven't looked into any of the auditing they've done of the elections, and I don't necessarily concern myself with that conversation.
Yes,
But
can't defend it, so not going to try. Probably smart.
Is a sown seed of mistrust. They have mistrust in the institutions and systems as they stand.
Well, the question is why.
Whether or not you feel a certain way about the elections, that mistrust is rightful. I mean, we're finding out now that the FBI, which is a government agency, is now in contact with big tech like Facebook and Twitter.
What does it have to do with the elections?
Auditing and censoring information.
What does that have to do with the elections?
To election cycles happening. And this is noted. We have the emails from the FBI. The Twitter files have come out.
Yes, the Twitter files. The totally.
Whether or not they're right about the election, really not necessarily the problem. The problem is you have.
I love that. I love that when they do like the. Are they right? I can't really say anybody's right about that, but that's not the point. That's not the point. The point isn't that they're correct about the election. The point is that they're asking questions.
A large portion of Americans.
When you have to back up to I'm just asking questions, it means that you don't really have a defense of your positions.
They've always had faith in for the most part, and I think that's what we should be addressing.
Somebody hasn't been paying attention to politics since like 2020. Like that tells me if you think Republicans have been like, if you think the Republican base and Republican voters have been trustful of the election process for all of their lives, I'm sorry, but like you're either lying or you what is this? Are the students getting at least C's in that classroom? Probably. But like you're either lying by telling me like you're like, oh well, Republicans have always trusted the elections. I'm like, first of all, Republicans have been bitching about elections since fucking Reagan. Please fucking spare me. Especially if we want to talk about in the 90s and in the early 2000s. Do you know how many Republicans were bitching about the 2000 election? Like, considering they got it stolen for this side and they still were complaining about it. Same with like 08 and the whole fiasco that happened in 08 and a black man became president, so Republicans fucking mauled it for 10 years. Like, please spare me with this. Like they've always been reassured of like the vote or whatever. They've never trusted it. Every time they've lost, they've complained that there's some outside alien force as to why they lost an election. Every single time they've been consistently anti-democratic in that way. Fueled by right-wing media, fueled by talk radio. Like if you're not aware of that, then like again, you're either lying or you're just like uneducated on that. I can't help you from that point. Like you need to go back and like do your history on the Republican Party. The thing that they tell, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to film one.